From fire breathers to ice blasters, from two-headed pranksters to invisible stalkers, this is every dragon in the How to Train Your Dragon universe explained. We're going to be breaking them down by their official classes like Strike, Mystery, and Tracker, but not every dragon fits into a box. Some are so strange or so rare that they haven't even been classified yet. So get ready to learn everything there is to know about every dragon from Toothless to Hookfang. That said, we have a lot of dragons to cover, so let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. First up is the Boulder class, dragons defined by their sheer durability and volcanic organs. These dragons have lava flowing through them and are armored in a thick stone hide. They tend to live underground where they can snack on rocks and magma, and while their bodies might suggest otherwise, many of them are capable of flight. So let's take a closer look at the bulkiest dragons in the series. The Catastrophic Quaken is a dragon that definitely makes an impact. This Boulder-class heavyweight uses its body as a weapon, curling into a spiked ball and launching itself with enough force to shake the ground and even knock flying dragons out of the air. Its stone-colored hide helps it blend in with rocky landscapes, turning entire cliff sides into potential ambush sites. And while it may not be built for speed, once it starts rolling, there is basically no stopping it. Among the most notable Quakens is Tormentor, a once hostile dragon who made a habit of flattening anything that moved. However, he eventually bonded with Fishlegs and Meatlug, choosing a quieter life on Darkdeep. Spikeback is another standout known for his shimmering crystal-like armor that catches light as he hurls himself into battle. And then there's Liberated Troll Boulder, a Quaken who prefers stealth rather than brute force. Up next we have the Crimson Gorecutter, a dragon that looks like it came straight out of a Viking's fever dream. But despite its warlike appearance, this Boulder-class dragon is more guardian than gladiator. Its molten-tipped antlers and heavy axe-like tail are weapons, but they only ever really get used when something or someone that it cares about is in danger. Gorecutters are known for their deep, resonant calls and their intense sense of loyalty. One was even seen destroying a trapper's ship to protect fish meat. Next in the Boulder class is the Eruptodon, a volcanic giant built to keep nature in check. With fireproof scales and heat-shielded eyes, the Eruptodon can dive into magma vents where he feeds on lava to prevent eruptions, acting less like a weapon and more like a pressure valve for the island. First introduced in Dragon's Race to the Edge, this calm and colossal dragon isn't so much about flashy battles or thunderous roars. However, it is capable of launching molten fireballs when it finds itself in danger. The Great Protector, a legendary Eruptodon, served Caldera Cay for over 40 years, never straying far from the volcano that she kept in check. Even when she was kidnapped and forced into a trapper's pit, she continued to protect her home until the very end, and eventually passed her role on to her only child. This was the new Protector, who took over that responsibility without any hesitation. Hatched during a time of crisis, he quickly grew into his role, fighting off threats, saving villages, and joining epic battles as he earned his place as the next guardian of the wing. Next up is the Gronkle. Slow, round, and lovably grumpy. And no Gronkle is more iconic than Fishlegs' faithful companion, Meatlug. Debuting in the first How to Train Your Dragon movie and staying by Fishlegs' side throughout every major battle and emotional moment, Meatlug is the heart and soul of the Boulder class. With stumpy wings, a potato-shaped body, and a dopey grin, you might mistake her for being a lazy couch potato. But if you underestimate her, you will get a face full of magma. Gronkles eat rocks and use their specialized stomach to melt them down into molten lava, which they're then able to use to spit out into devastating blasts. And that's just the start. They can also produce Gronkle Iron, a lightweight, nearly indestructible alloy that changed the game for the riders. Meatlug's ability to create this metal made her one of the most valuable dragons in the group, even if she'd rather be napping or chasing a belly rub. But that's not all. Meatlug is strong too. She has lifted dragons way heavier than herself, pinned down foes like Razor Whips and even Toothless, and tanked hits from dragons many times her size. And even her bite strength is insane, as she is strong enough to crunch through solid boulders with ease. And of course, she is a mom. In the hidden world, Meatlug gave birth to the endlessly energetic baby Gronkle, Fishmeat, who immediately bonded to Fishlegs. Whether napping mid-flight, eating glowing algae, or being cradled in Meatlug's mouth, Fishmeat's presence continued the Gronkle tradition of being adorable, loyal, and quite a bit chaotic. But Meatlug isn't the only Gronkle with a legacy. We also have Bookworm, a fiercely protective female Gronkle tasked with guarding the Book of Dragons on Outcast Island. She may not be a fighter by trade, but when Savage and the Outcasts tried to grab the book, she made it very clear that they'd have to go through her, and that didn't end well for them. Bookworm might not have Meatlug's screen time, but she represents another side to the Gronkle breed. She has serious loyalty, a sense of purpose, and a willingness to bite anyone who gets too close to something she is sworn to protect. On a very similar line of thought, we have the Gronksicle coming in from Ice Storm Island. This icy boulder-class dragon made its debut in Dragon's Rise of Berk and quickly stood out for being, well, cool. This one has a stocky build similar to the Gronkle, but is wrapped in frosty blue scales and icicle-like spikes. Not only that, but rather than breathing fire, this dragon sprays liquid nitrogen, instantly flash freezing everything in its path. Despite the frosty appearance and fearsome cold breath, the Gronksicle is one of the friendliest dragons around. It is social, loyal, and a bit of a softie. But like a snowball in the sun, it doesn't do well in warm climates, and so it tends to prefer frozen islands instead. And of course, one of the most famous of their breed is Sweetsicle, a rainbow-colored Gronksicle who got hooked on sugary, glowing algae. Next up is the Hot Burple, a dragon that might just be asleep when you meet it. Hot Burples are laid-back boulder-class dragons, often mistaken for wobbling rocks with wings, but beneath their laziness lies serious power. With jaws strong enough to chew through dragon-proof metal and lava blasts fueled by iron ore, they are surprisingly effective in combat despite how lazy they look. And because of their size and their tough hides, they essentially become living wrecking balls when bothered. And of course, the most famous Hot Burple is Grump, Gobber's sleepy but fiercely loyal partner. Grump might snooze through most situations, but the moment that Gobber is in trouble, he charges, or at least sleepwalks, into action. Whether he's lighting the forge or knocking out dragon hunters mid-snore, Grump proves that even the slowest dragons can make a big impact when it counts. Next up are the Sentinels, the silent guardians of Vanaheim. These boulder-class dragons are born blind, yet there are few species more alert. Instead of sight, they rely on razor-sharp hearing and scent, which makes them terrifyingly efficient at detecting intruders. Mistaken for statues until the moment they strike, Sentinels use sonic screeches and downdraft wing blasts to protect the sacred island where dying dragons go to rest. But they're not just enforcers, they are also caretakers. Sentinels guide the sick to safety, construct burial grounds, and defend their island from predators like Grim Gnashers with enduring commitment. They're also highly intelligent, capable of recognizing friends and enemies, and adapting to unfamiliar threats, even dragons they've never encountered before. The Elder Sentinel once partnered with dragon riders to fight off Stormheart's forces, showing that these creatures value protection above all else. And then there's Timbertoast, a well-meaning but overly excitable sentinel whose fire-happy habits have accidentally burned down a few of Berk's forests, maybe one too many times. Following the Sentinels, we have Shovelhelm, probably one of the most practical dragons in the Boulder class lineup. These dragons don't rush in with brute force, instead they pause, assess, and act with precision. With a chin built like a scoop and a skull hard enough to hammer through stone, Shovelhelms are indispensable for construction and defense alike. One of the most famous Shovelhelms is Clawlifter. This dragon is loyal and methodical, and once even airlifted Hiccup right off Toothless's back and delivered him to Valka without breaking a sweat. Despite his intimidating size, Clawlifter embodies the Shovelhelm mindset, calm under pressure, fiercely strong when needed, and deeply bonded to its rider. Next up in the Boulder class is the Snafflefang. Snafflefangs are among the friendliest boulder dragons you'll meet. Stocky, round-headed, and equipped with a spiked tail and powerful jaw, these dragons thrive in crystal-rich environments where they can munch on geodes like dogs chew on bones. Their explosive fireballs contain sharp crystal shards, making their breath weapon both beautiful and destructive. Unlike their slower boulder cousins, Snafflefangs are curious and spry. They often get underestimated because of their trusting nature, which is a quality that dragon hunters sadly exploit. From one of the friendliest to one of the most fearsome dragons, the Whispering Death is built for burrowing, brawling, and terrifying anything above ground.
What do we know about the Whispering Death?
Boulder class, razor-sharp teeth, incredibly strong, hunts from underground.
Armed with 6 rotating rows of buzzsaw teeth, this underground predator drills through stone like butter. You won't see it coming, but you will hear it, the unsettling whispers of grinding jaws beneath your feet. That is your cue to run. Though nearly blind and sensitive to light, Whispering Deaths more than make up for their weaknesses with brute force, deadly, ring-shaped fire blasts, and the unnerving ability to launch spines from any part of their body. They tunnel at incredible speeds, turning the terrain itself into a weapon. But not all Whispering Deaths are mindless killers. For example, Ground Splitter. Originally captured and trained by Alvin the Treacherous, she later becomes the mother of the Screaming Death and showed deep maternal instincts. Despite her violent past, she helped reunite her family and even saved Hiccup and Toothless, proving a Whispering Death can recognize kindness and return it. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Toothless's nemesis, a long-bodied, grudge-holding Whispering Death with a bite mark from a Night Fury on its tail. He nearly killed Toothless more than once using his intelligence and combat skills to exploit Toothless's weaknesses. We also have Trail Twisters, a feral group residing on Whispering Death Island. These dragons are hyper-territorial and have even been seen drawing lines in the sand to mark their domain. When the riders approached the island, Trail Twisters erupted from the earth in a coordinated ambush, sending a clear message that the island belongs to them. And then there's the Screaming Death. From the depths of the earth rises a dragon so terrifying that it is named after the sound that drives other dragons mad. The Screaming Death. This is a rare mutation of the Whispering Death, with pale scales and red eyes that is born only once every century and grows to an immense size, making it capable of drilling through solid stone and unleashing massive firewalls. Unlike its sun-fearing cousins, the Screaming Death thrives in daylight and flies with unbelievable speed. Its piercing scream can disorient enemies mid-air, and its dense scales make it nearly impenetrable to plasma blasts, nadir spines, and even dragon root. However, despite its terrifying presence, the Screaming Death is not mindless. Its bond with its Whispering Death mother and siblings can run deep, and in rare moments, that connection can even calm this destructive beast. On a bit of a cuter note, we have the Rock Spitter, a dragon that proves that brains and belly can go hand in hand. And no one embodies that better than Burple. With 4 stomachs, 1 for food and 3 for just about anything, Burple can store and spit rocks, tools, snowballs, even eggs with impressive force. He's also a master of the barrel roll, curling himself into a ball to bowl through obstacles or even scale walls. While rock spitters aren't fast flyers or great swimmers, their thick skin offers heat resistance, and unique quirks like turning magnetic after eating iron ore make them unpredictable but reliable allies. Burple has also been known to start fires by sparking rocks or even using his infamous back burp for underwater propulsion. Despite his bulky frame and self-doubt, Burple is loyal, clever, and always ready to support his team, often literally. And our final entry for the Boulder class is the Fault Ripper, a massive dragon from the 9 realms that is best known for its armored hide, spinning fire drills, and seismic tunneling that can literally trigger earthquakes. This subterranean behemoth is blind, but makes up for it with razor-sharp hearing and a nose that can sniff out intruders from afar. They are highly territorial and aggressive, and because of this, most Fault Rippers don't play nice, unless you are Tom Cullerson. Tom's bond with the Fissure Fault Ripper began with fear and chaos, nearly bringing Icarus to ruin. But after a near-tragic fight, Tom returned to the wounded beast to make amends, and surprisingly it listened. This once hostile titan not only forgave Tom, but led an army of Crystal Realm dragons against the Sky Torture, and even helped to save the 9 realms from Jormungandr. Up next, we have a class of dragons shrouded in mystery, the Mystery class. These are stealthy, unpredictable, and often feared. They're known for rare abilities and strange behavior, and are amongst the most diverse and unusual dragons in the world. Up first is a dragon that doesn't grow scales, but instead builds armor, the Armor Wing. A mysterious, solitary dragon with a body so vulnerable that it armors itself in welded scrap metal drawn in by its magnetic skin. It fuses everything from iron to gold into a protective shell, creating an ever-evolving suit of armor that can deflect even monstrous nightmare blasts. However, underneath this fearsome exterior lies bare, scaleless skin, which is its greatest weakness. The most well-known armor wing is Bandit, first encountered on Iron Island. Initially aggressive and territorial, Bandit came into conflict with the Dragon Riders after accidentally fusing Snotlout's ancestral axe to its body. But once Hiccup realized that the dragon's armor was a necessity, not vanity, they slowly began to build trust with one another. Later, Bandit would fight alongside the riders against dragonflyers and even rescue Hiccup with his flaming metal projectiles, going so far as to expose his own weaknesses in the process. An even more terrifying dragon to look at, though, is the Bone Napper. This mystery-class dragon lacks the durable scales of its kin, so it crafts its own armor from bones scavenged from other dragons, animals, and occasionally even Vikings. Its armor isn't just for show, though. Like the armor wing's metal, the Bone Napper uses these to protect its delicate body, as well as to enhance its combat abilities and even enable itself to roar with devastating force if it has all the right pieces. The most famous Bone Napper is Gobber's nemesis, a dragon that spent years chasing Gobber across land, sea, and volcanoes, all for one missing piece. A bone Gobber had unknowingly turned into a belt buckle. Once reunited with the fragment, the Bone Napper revealed its true nature, being truly loyal, gentle, and even affectionate. With its armor complete, Gobber's nemesis let out a thunderous roar, giving the riders a lift back to Berk, and proved that even the most intimidating dragons have a soft side. Well, under all that bone at least. Up next is the Buffalord, a dragon that looks like a walking hay bale with thorns. But don't let that fool you. Behind these sleepy eyes and peaceful grazing lies one of the rarest, most valuable dragons on the archipelago. For example, Big Buff, the Buffalord who accidentally became a legend. When Astrid caught the deadly scourge of Odin, it was this dragon's green-tinted drool mixed with the herbs that he grazes on that turned out to be the cure. These dragons are known to be calm to the point of oblivious. For example, Big Buff allowed himself to be netted, carted, and bullied across his island. However, the moment that someone tried to remove him from the island, he puffed up like a balloon, launched fire in every direction, and bursted out of a dragon-proof cage, only to return to grazing like nothing happened. Buffalords have a handful of unusual abilities as well. As I mentioned, they can inflate their entire bodies like pufferfish, they can fire off high-speed spikes from their hides, and breathe a wide cloud of fire around themselves. They aren't exactly precise, but they can keep their enemies at a distance. They're also deceptively strong, capable of dragging entire ships and even bending dragon-proof metal when angry. Then there's the Brute Buffalord, a more volatile cousin who doesn't control when it inflates or breathes. And then there is the Cavern Crasher, a wingless, slime-coated dragon that's just as clever as it is creepy. It crawls across cave walls and ceilings like a gecko from your nightmares, and makes up for its lack of wings with fireproof mucus and the unsettling ability to collapse its skeleton to squeeze through cracks. And of course, it spits out flammable goo. The most infamous of its kind is Firecomb Crasher, Snoutloaf's self-declared nemesis. This dragon stormed Fireworm Island, chased off the queen, and started feasting on eggs because that's what it does best. He managed to hold his own against multiple dragons until Hook Fang and the Fireworm Queen teamed up to cook off his protective slime, ultimately forcing him to retreat. And then there's Slimeball, Eric's walking biohazard. A dragon so terrible smelling that other dragons will even evacuate their nests to avoid him. Next up, the Changewing, one of the most elusive and mesmerizing dragons in the mystery class. This acid-spitting predator has the ability to change colors and completely blend into its surroundings. The Changewing can stalk prey undetected and then unleash a stream of corrosive acid that melts wood and even rips through dragon-proof metal. But what really sets them apart is their hypnotic gaze, a swirling trance that can make even the fiercest dragon obey them. Among the most notable of them is Phantom, who demonstrates this hypnotic skill in battle. Then there's the infamous Mother Changewing, who mistook Snotlout for her baby, keeping him hostage in a cuddle prison until Hiccup intervened. Following that, we have the Death Song. This is a dragon that is as stunning as it is sinister, with wings like stained glass and a voice that can lull a battlefield into silence. This dragon sings its praise to sleep before sealing them in unbreakable amber. Death Songs are apex predators, and even other dragons fear their hypnotic melody. There are very few Death Songs who stand out like Garf, the dragon that the riders adopted as a baby. Over time, Garf learned to mimic human songs and even began protecting his rider friends by encasing dressing himself in protective amber armor as he led armies of dragons into battle. Then there's his adopted father, the true terror of Melody Peaks. This death song was able to freeze other dragons mid-flight by locking them in amber, and then would pull them away once they couldn't resist him. However, with Garf's help, even this dragon was won over and eventually began bonding with the riders. Next up, the Dramillion, one of the most unique and tactical dragons in the mystery class. Known as the parrots of the dragon world, these mimic masters can replicate nearly any dragon's firepower. From Gronkle Blast to Razor Whip Slices and even Night Fury Plasma. The Dramillion sees it, copies it, and fires it right back. But mimicry isn't its only trick. They're fiercely loyal pack hunters who share energy like batteries, refueling each other mid-battle to stay in the fight. There are a few Dramillions more memorable than Fishlegs' Dramillion. At first, he saw Fishlegs as a threat, but once Fishlegs proved himself, the dragon mimicked his Fire Blast combo to melt his own shackles and free the rest of his captured pack. Then there's the Titan Wing Dramillion, a silent guardian hiding in plain sight, massive, durable, and cloaked in camouflage. This elder led a devastating charge against the dragon flyers. Even while poisoned with dragon root and impaled by a harpoon, the Titan Wing Dramillion endured, escaped near death, and returned to battle with a vengeance. Up next, we descend into the eerie shimmer of ghost stories with the Flightmare, a glowing, screeching dragon that paralyzes its prey with its chilling mist. Fueled by glowing algae and armed with hit-and-run tactics, this ghostly predator avoids brute force in favor of speed, confusion, and terror. The most infamous is Hoffersonsbane, the spectral menace that froze Astrid's uncle stiff and that haunts Burke every decade. They were later revealed to be drawn in by glowing algae and terrorized the skies until the riders cleverly redirected its food source into the sea, luring the dragon away once and for all. Then there's Vigo's Frightmare, captured and muzzled by hunters who tried to weaponize its mist. However, even restrained, it was tactical, laying mist traps mid-flight and targeting enemies with algae markings before swooping in. Up next is the slumbering giant of dragon legends, the Foreverwing, a mystery class so massive it's mistaken for a forested mountain. This ancient dragon is rarely seen awake, and as a result of its woody appearance, vine-covered body, and beard-like foliage, many even mistake it for an ancient forest spirit. The Foreverwing is capable of producing lava blasts and green acid, which it uses to defend its territory. However, they are no tyrant. It rules a peaceful flock of seedling dragons, communicates via telepathy, and even goes on to form a connection with Hiccup in the comics. On top of that, it can create calming compounds that sedate nearby dragons, and may even be able to control plant life, which it could use to entrap foes. Up next are Barf and Belch, the hideous Zippleback. This two-headed terror is one of the weirdest dragons around. Barf releases a thick green gas, and Belch ignites it with a spark. Despite their constant bickering and inability to agree on just about anything, these two are surprisingly effective in a fight. Whether they're lighting up a battlefield or knocking out enemies with synchronized headbutts, they will always get the job done. Then we have the chaotic gremlins of the dragon world, the Hobgobblers. Small, round, and constantly drooling, Hobgobblers are mystery stoker hybrids with a destructive streak and a stomach that never quits. These dragons can eat just about anything, and when in a pack will tear through entire ships or houses in seconds. Their powerful jaws allow them to latch onto much bigger dragons than themselves, and despite their size, they've got the stamina to cross continents without breaking a sweat. Among the most memorable is Hobbs, a hobgobbler who bonded with Phil Baker after being saved from choking. Then we have the gentle healer of the dragon world, the Prickleboggle. Originally classified as a stoker class due to its icy blasts, the Prickleboggle was later reclassified as a mystery class thanks to its unique healing properties. This dragon may not dominate the battlefield with brute force, but it is a miracle worker on the sidelines. Its icy mist can either freeze enemies or heal wounded dragons, and dragons that are healed by the Prickleboggle often form strong bonds with it and become fierce protectors of their healer. Up next, the beach-dwelling menace, the Sandbuster. This elusive mystery-class dragon hides beneath sandy shores like a pirate guarding buried treasure. With a snake-like body and a hoard of stolen gold, lures victims close and then strikes with molten glass blasts that harden on impact, trapping their prey in shimmering prisons. Its ability to swim through sand, snow, mud, or even sawdust makes it impossible to track, and once it finds its prey, it can yank targets as big as entire Vikings underground with its prehensile tail before they can even scream. However, it does have a major weakness, which is sunlight. A single ray can burn its sensitive skin, forcing it to remain hidden unless it is covered in ash or shadow. Following that, we have the Silk Spanners. At first glance, silk spanners might not look like they're capable flyers, but these spider-like mystery class dragons are masters of the breeze. Using silk spun between their 6 legs, they glide from island to island like living parachutes, catching air currents and floating across the sea. While they may seem fragile, don't be fooled. Their silk is strong enough to immobilize full-grown dragons, and their claws make them expert climbers. But most importantly, silk spanners feed on toxic dragonvine and can even suck out the poison from infected dragons to keep them safe. Up next, the vibrant but venomous Slitherwing. These serpentine mystery class dragons are armed with toxic fangs, venom-coated skin, and deadly coloration that is more than just for show. The brighter the dragon, the deadlier the poison. Slitherwings can spit venom, sedate dragons with a bite, and even weaponize their tails to splash toxins around. Just touching one can be fatal. They're also the only known dragons immune to Death Song Amber, making them rare predators even among dragons. Then we have the sneaky, smothering Smoke Breath. These small mystery class dragons may not breathe fire in the traditional sense, but they're far from harmless. Smoke breaths exhale dense black smoke from their mouths and their skin, blanketing their surroundings in a ghostly fog. But behind the eerie legends is a very real obsession with metal. These dragons collect and weld shiny scraps to build armored nests that protect them from larger predators. Individually, smoke breaths aren't really much of a threat, but in swarms, they've managed to bring down entire ships. Following the Smoke Breath is the Snap Trapper. Originally listed under the Fear class, Snap Trappers use their beauty and scent as their main weapons. With 4 heads and jaws that split 3 ways, they emit a mouth-watering chocolatey aroma to lure prey right into their leafy camouflaged trap. And when that doesn't work, they can also unleash acid, venom, or a defensive stench that will send even the Titan wings running. Snap Trappers will wait completely still for hours, and sometimes days, until their prey wanders into striking range. Notable individuals like Death and Chocolates once gave Stoic and Gobber the fight of their lives. On a much bigger note, we have Grumbleguard, the grumpy grandpa dragon you didn't know you needed. Grumbleguard is a 275-year-old forever-horned dragon who first appeared in Dragon's Rescue Riders. With a temper as fierce as his wind breath, he literally drove the rescue riders off his island for trespassing. However, after realizing they were helping orphaned hatchlings and not stealing from him, he had a change of heart. Grumbleguard can unleash powerful wind blasts strong enough to knock dragons from the sky or clear entire beaches, but he's also capable of reversing the airflow, creating suction to pull things towards him. On top of that, he can slam his wings together to create shockwaves and has endured attacks from multiple dragons without a scratch. Next is a dragon that only hatches once a century. The Golden Dragon is made of solid gold, as their name suggests, making them as rare as they are valuable. Golden dragons like Gemma can shoot a dazzling golden glitter blast that irritates eyes and sticks to just about everything. However, this ability only emerges once the hatchling eats his own eggshell. While protective and proud, golden dragons are also migratory and prefer to stay hidden until it's safe to nest. Despite her fierce independence, Gemma learns to trust the rescue riders after they help her defend her precious egg from pirates. Up next are a set of dragons that could headline in a musical, the enchanting Songwinds. Songwinds are large, brightly colored mystery class dragons known for their hypnotic singing voices. Unlike their more dangerous cousins, the Death Songs, Songwings use music not to hunt, but to calm or enchant. Most live in pairs called songmates, and if separated they will grow lonely and emotionally unstable. That's exactly what happened to Meliodia, a vibrant songling who hypnotized an entire village just to create her own choir. Though her power can affect both dragons and humans, the spell can be broken by louder, dissonant voices or a voice even more beautiful, which was proved by Layla. Once reunited with her songmate Cantana, Meliodia's manipulative behavior completely stopped and was replaced by a joyful harmony. Beyond just their voices, songwings can refract sunlight with their wings, creating a dazzling, peacock-like display mid-flight. However, they do have some odd vulnerabilities. For example, Dragon Pepper ruins their voice, and Shriek-scale screeches can completely disrupt their songs. On to the Deadly Spinner. This medium-sized mystery class dragon is yet another spider-like addition, this time with the ability to shoot flaming webs strong enough to suspend a magma breather mid-fall or to seal active lava vents. Their webs can also be fired like tether lines or in multiple rapid blasts depending on the situation. These dragons are agile in the air and on the land. They can crawl upside down on crystal ceilings or spiral through mid-air with eerie precision. But despite their creepy build, Deadly Spinners are actually very friendly, sensitive, and social. Webmaster, the first known deadly spinner and Eugene's dragon, quickly developed an inseparable bond when Eugene saved him from flamethrowers. Webmaster is loyal, affectionate, and always ready to prank. But when it counts, he is a fearless fighter, even managing to hold off a Death Gripper and help stop a larger threat like the Glasscaster. Then we have the elusive Featherhide, a dragon so skilled at hiding that according to legend, even Bork the Bold was said to have been stalked by one without seeing it. In Dragons the Nine Realms, we meet Feathers, the only known representative of her species. Feathers can vanish into her surroundings and even cloak herself under her wings, making her the ultimate stealth companion. But stealth isn't all she has. She packs a powerful sonic scream that can knock out dragons, shatter ice, and even peel off old scales. Despite her shy nature, she bonded deeply with her rider Alex. Up next is the Gem Blaster, a towering sentinel from the hidden world with fire hot enough to ignite life itself. This large mystery class dragon made a debut in Dragons 9 Realms, and though it's only been seen once, it left a pretty lasting mark. It has stone gray scales and jagged green crystal spikes down its back. The Gem Blaster looks like it was carved straight from the earth, and it uses its scorching blue flame to breathe life into the realms by activating the central Dragon Sight gem, which keeps oxygen flowing through the hidden world. Gem Blaster is an essential part of the ecosystem that it fights to protect. And that brings us to the Jormungandr, the colossal world serpent that slithered out of myth. With a name straight from Norse legend, this enormous mystery-class dragon lives up to the hype, bringing an apocalyptic presence with its venom breath, earth-ripping strength, and unnerving intelligence. Jormungandr is like a monstrous eel with a cobra-like hood, a triple-split jaw lined with fangs, and a body big enough to rival a screaming death. It can tunnel, unleash a poisonous gas that suffocates all life, and even breathe fire. But what makes it truly terrifying is its mind. It learns, adapts, and even outsmarts traps set by the dragon riders. Jormungandr has incredible destructive power and the brain to keep itself from being stopped. Up next is the Spiderwing, a small but dangerously crafty mystery class dragon. What it lacks for in size, it makes up for in numbers and strategy. Spiderwings shoot fiery webs that harden instantly, trapping both dragons and riders alike. These webs are resistant to fire and require a combined blast to break through them. And one of these dragons might be manageable alone, but a pack of Spiderwings can totally seal exits, drop in from above, and overwhelm their prey. And this idea of teamwork is actually their greatest strength, as Spiderwings are known for using sentries, coordinated ambushes, and clever distractions to defeat their enemies. That said, they're not unbeatable though, as they're vulnerable to loud sonic blasts or coordinated attacks that scatter them. And last in this class is the elusive and deadly Yetiwing, a large, stealthy mystery class dragon known for its haunting presence in the frozen expanse of the Ice Realm. With thick white fur, massive wings, and eerie antler-like horns, the Yetiwing is built for the cold. It uses its icy camouflage to stalk prey, waiting for hours before springing its ambush. When it strikes, it unleashes a freezing blast strong enough to knock even a nightlight out of the sky and pin dragons like Feathers and Webmaster to the ground. Despite its size, the Yetiwing is a skilled climber, scaling icy walls with ease, but its intelligence is just as chilling as its breath. One even collapses its own cave to trap the dragon club inside. However, its bulk does come at a cost. It has limited stamina, making prolonged fights very difficult for it, and so it relies on ambushes over drawn-out chases. And now we have the Sharp class dragons. These are known for their razor-like features, prideful personalities, and dramatic flair. Their bodies are covered in spines, blades, or piercing projectiles, meaning they are just as dangerous as they are dazzling. Up first is the Eggbiter, a Sharp class dragon introduced in the How to Train Your Dragon Live Spectacular. They're known for aggressively biting their enemies, and adult Eggbiters even develop into fierce fighters with strong jaws capable of biting through metal. Then there's the Grim Gnasher. These medium-sized predators might not be the biggest, but what they lack in size they make up for in sheer precision and ruthlessness. Grim Gnashers specialize in targeting the weak, circling over the sick and dying like vultures, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. These dragons are armed with thousands of teeth that regenerate like a shark's. However, they aren't just for biting. They can also be launched as deadly projectiles with terrifying accuracy. And if those tooth darts don't do the trick, they can always follow up with blasts of searing blue and green fire. The bigger problem is that these dragons don't hunt alone. They communicate like a pack of wolves to coordinate organized attacks led by their red-winged alpha. And then there's the Rain Cutter, a dragon built for wet weather and sharp turns. One standout Rain Cutter is Thump, a pale green female with a frilled sail and a missing wingtip. She was injured by trappers before being rescued by Valka, and the two of them have been inseparable ever since. Rain Cutters like Thump thrive in rainy, cold environments where their rain-resistant firepower can shine, and if all else fails, they can always blast water from their bellies as well. Their fins and long necks help them slice through the air and scoop up their targets, and despite their appearance, Rain Cutters are strong enough to carry humans, boats, or even go toe-to-toe with armored dragons. This species is known for their loyalty, intelligence, and calm nature, making them one of the most trainable Sharp class dragons. Up next in the Sharp class is the Razor Whip, a dragon with gleaming metallic scales, razor-edged wings, and a tail like a living whip. They're built for both beauty and battle, sharp enough to deal with just about anything, and smart enough to know exactly where to target for the most damage. Among this kind of dragon, 3 individuals stand out: Windshear, Fighter Razor Whip, and Wingnut. Windshear is the pride of Wing Maiden Atali, and they are everything a Razor Whip should be: graceful, fiercely loyal, and devastating in combat. Her blade-like tail can slice through stone, and her shimmering scales double as armor. She is intelligent, disciplined, and one of the few dragons to truly make the most of being trained with the help of a human. Then there's Fighter Razor Whip, a hardened, battle-worn survivor. They were once forced into dragon fighting rings, and here they developed their impressive strength that even allowed them to pin Toothless down. And finally, Wingnut, a baby Razor Whip with a copper-tinged hide and a big heart. Though he imprinted on Roughnut by accident, his bond with her is very deep and real. Despite this, Wingnut chose to stay behind with Atali so that he could make a difference and help her as he learned to become something greater. Then we have the Scuttleclaw, the dragon equivalent of a sugar-rushed toddler with wings. These hyperactive, unpredictable dragons are equal parts adorable and chaotic, but those who get distracted by their cuteness can often find themselves in real danger, as Scuttleclaws can bite through metal, outfly seasoned Vikings, and ignore just about any order that's given to them. Juvenile Scuttleclaws are especially notorious for their wild behavior. They're immune to alpha control, and were the only dragons unaffected by Drago's Bewilderbeast, making them the unexpected heroes of Berk. Scuttleclaws have flammable drool and can launch fireballs that are just as explosive as their energy levels. And even as hatchlings, they're strong enough to carry full-grown Vikings like Gobber. That said, training them is optimistic at best, but if you can earn their trust, you'll have a loyal but chaotic aerial powerhouse on your hands. Up next in the Sharp class is the Speed Stinger, easily the fastest thing on legs in the dragon world. These nocturnal, flightless dragons are the apex predators of the tundra trails. They aren't known for their flame, but they are known for their ferocity. Speed Stingers are armed with venomous stingers and hunt like coordinated warbands, obeying every command from their red-striped leader called the Lead Stinger. These dragons are clever, tireless, and nearly impossible to outrun. Though each one of them is a blur of claws and tail spikes, it is the individuals like Speedy and Jerry that show us that there's more behind these dragons than just stinging their targets. Speedy was a juvenile rescued by Hiccup after injuring his leg. Skittish and defensive at first, he slowly bonded with the riders and eventually turned against his own pack to defend his new friends. Then there's Jerry, a speed stinger with a soft spot for running with his human friend Pete. Though Jerry is capable of delivering a paralyzing sting, he prefers a calmer pace, and thanks to him, Icarus scientists even developed an anti-venom against speed stinger poison. Up next in the Sharp class is the Stormcutter, a dragon of elegance, precision, and devastating power. With 4 wings that form an X shape in flight, these aerial titans are unmatched in agility, able to twist and dive with pinpoint control. Stormcutters are proud, razor-sharp creatures that carry themselves with a commanding presence and unmatched control over the air. Most iconic of them all is Valka's trusted companion, Cloudjumper. Together, they've spent decades rescuing dragons and weaving through danger without ever needing to speak a word. Cloudjumper doesn't need commands. He has been trained so well that he already knows what is needed of him. Whether that be unlocking a cage with his talons, evading enemy attacks with effortless grace, or whipping up a tornado of flames to clear the battlefield, Cloudjumper will act on pure instinct and trust. This dragon is easily one of the most respected amongst both humans and his kind. But not all Stormcutters stay neutral. You can look at the Brute Stormcutter, who was once a fierce scout for the Green Death's war campaign. This dragon's vibrant colors make it an imposing figure on the battlefield. However, in times of peace, he managed to find redemption and now serves as a guide leading lost Viking ships back to safety. Our next Sharp class dragon is the elusive Thornridge, a dragon you'll rarely notice until it's already saved your life. These are quiet, observant, calm, and loyal to a fault. With their sleek bodies, frilled crests, and leaf-like wings, Thornridges are built more for endurance and precision rather than brute force. But don't mistake their silence for weakness. When danger threatens their home or their herd, they will attack without hesitation. One of the most well-known Thornridges was seen at Valka's side. Even with a damaged wing from Drago's traps, it powered through battle, fighting, flying, and carrying loads without ever stopping. These dragons aren't flashy, but their stamina is legendary, and when pushed into a corner, some of them can unleash a dense flame, while others will quietly hold fire in their mouths to light up dark caves. They can be as versatile as they are powerful. And then there's the Primal Thornridge, a reserve dragon who finds comfort close to the Bewilderbeast as they guard the icy stronghold of the Primals. Following the Thornridge is the Timberjack, a dragon whose powerful wings double as a guillotine and can slice through forests with ease. Despite its intimidating size and bladed wingspan, the Timberjack is actually pretty sensitive, preferring quiet over battles. But disturb its peace and you'll very quickly learn why trees don't stand a chance against them. While lacking legs, Timberjacks glide with an eerie grace, using their hooked-tipped wings to slice, shield, and even cradle themselves or weary riders. Their fire is a molten, oil-based blaze that burns hotter than most others, and when charged, they can unleash a devastating fire nova capable of scorching entire squads. These dragons are also migratory, traveling in flocks led by a dominant individual like Soaring's sidekick who once flew with Hiccup and Toothless. But not all Timberjacks are treated with kindness. One, known as Jack, was forced into obedience by Buzzsaw, who used a carved whistle until the dragon broke free with the help of Tom. And that brings us to the Windstriker, a sleek, soaring dragon that trades fire for fury in the form of superheated air. And so this dragon doesn't breathe flames in the traditional sense, and instead it exhales scorching blasts of air so intense that it can ignite enemies on contact. A true skydiver at heart, the Windstriker isn't afraid to take the fight straight from the clouds to the ground with devastating dive bomb attacks as well. With jagged wings, a long neck, and a horned snout, the Wingstrider is built for aerial dominance. It's strong enough to haul humans and heavy loads across vast distances, and agile enough to hold its own against armored dragons like Thunderclaw. One of the most famous Windstrikers is the gray and yellow Windstriker saved by Valka during Drago's assault. Ever since, this one has remained loyally by her side, waiting for a chance to return the favor. And finally, the Woodchipper, a small member of the Sharp class from Dragons the Nine Realms. Don't let their chubby, spotted bodies and stubby legs fool you. These beaver-like dragons are the ultimate lumberjacks of the dragon world. With chisel-like teeth strong enough to tunnel through solid tree trunks, woodchippers chew elaborate dens inside towering trees, building entire colonies governed by a single winged queen. Much like bees or ants, the queens control their colonies, directing her loyal workers with a mere thought. Whenever united, these dragons act with perfect coordination, digging, defending, and even rescuing trapped intruders if the queen deems them trustworthy. These dragons are peaceful and curious by nature, but once agitated, they can and will swarm like a storm of teeth and tails. Our next group is the Stoker class dragons, and they are all about the element of fire, whether breathing it, blasting it, or setting themselves ablaze. These hot-headed and high-powered dragons definitely bring the heat, and there is no better place to start than the fireworm. Fireworms are a tiny but scorching hot dragon that proves that size isn't everything. These glowing crawlers are about as big as your fist, but their skin burns hotter than the sun, and when they gather in swarms, they are nearly unstoppable. Fireworms live in massive colonies inside volcanic tunnels, producing a flammable gel called firecomb that powers their flames and fuels their nest. But leading them all is the Fireworm Queen, a massive golden titan who rules over the colony. She's not just bigger than them though, she also has a venom that can reignite the dying flame of any Stoker-class dragon, giving her the ability to save the lives of any dragon in her colony. The Fireworm Queen is fiercely protective, will never forget someone who threatened her hive, and will fight to the death to keep her subjects safe. Our next dragons though are less about saving lives and more about clearing a room. The Gobsuckers are dragons best known for igniting their own farts to propel themselves forward, and while this might seem pretty silly, it does allow them to reach pretty incredible speeds. But it's not just a flying fart machine. Gobsuckers also fire powerful acid blasts from their mouths that can melt right through armor. However, while their offensive skills are pretty impressive, they're not exactly the brightest dragons around, and some have even been tricked into thinking that rocks are their eggs. Despite their general goofiness though, these dragons have proven themselves time and time again to be both powerful and surprisingly useful. Our next Stoker class Titan is the legendary Green Death. First introduced in Dragon's Rise of Berk, this colossal creature is the cousin of the Red Death, but with a far calmer temperament. Thanks to their immunity to lava, these dragons can nest inside of volcanoes, where they spend most of their time keeping to themselves and avoiding conflict. Despite their passive nature, the Green Death can unleash massive streams of fire or concentrated blasts that can burn through just about anything when provoked. While this dragon tends to prefer isolation, we have seen it come to the aid of the Dragon Riders in emergencies, showing that in special cases, they are willing to leave their nests to make a difference. Up next is the Hobblegrunt, a moody, sensitive dragon that wears its heart on its scales. These colorful creatures change hue based on their emotions, yellow for happiness, purple for curiosity, and red for anger. Hobblegrunts are calm by nature and prefer quiet spaces, but in battle they are no pushovers. Their frilled radar-like head fin helps them detect temperature shifts and even emotional changes, making them very attuned to the world around them. And then there's Gruff, the only named Hobblegrunt in the franchise. Gruff was blinded by a dragon trap and rescued by Valka. Since then, he has lived peacefully using his sharp instincts to help protect the sanctuary. Up next in the Stoker class is the Large Shadowwing, a powerful battle-hardened dragon known for molten blasts, thunderous roars, and its iconic bomber formation. Small Shadowwings will attach themselves to its massive wingspan, turning the dragon into a flying war machine that rains lava from above. This dragon is essentially a flying fortress equipped with a smokescreen ability and a roar that can scramble enemy forces. But the true terror comes with the Alpha Shadow. Towering over its cousins, this green titan serves as a guardian and general for the Shadowwings. It coordinates attacks, defends its pack, and isn't afraid to take enemies down itself. And up next is one of the most iconic dragon species in the Stoker class, that being the Monstrous Nightmare. These dragons are known for their blazing firepower and proud, aggressive nature. They're covered in jagged spikes and often seen lighting themselves on fire. In fact, this dragon doesn't just breathe flames, it becomes them. With kerosene-like gel in their saliva and the ability to turn into a living fireball, they embody everything fiery and fearsome about dragonkind. But despite their intimidating appearances, many nightmares are surprisingly loyal and even affectionate. Hookfang is the prime example. He is stubborn, hot-headed, and prone to lighting himself up just to prove a point. But beneath the flame is a dragon who would throw himself into danger for his rider. He's fought Titan Wings, carried Fireworm Queens, and even matched Toothless in battle. Fanghook, named after Hookfang, is Gustav's monstrous nightmare and is surprisingly well trained. He is more obedient and affectionate than Hookfang himself, and quickly learned to respond to non-verbal commands as he became a trusted member of the auxiliary team. Then we have Hookfire, Fangmaster, and Hook Blazefang, who were monstrous nightmares considered as Hookfang's replacements. While visually distinct and strong, Snotlout ultimately rejected them as none of them were able to match his bond with the original Hookfang. We also have Girl Hookfang, a purple and yellow nightmare fiercely protective of her eggs. When a Titanwing nightmare threatened her nest, Hookfang stepped in to help her defend it. While cautious around humans, she later does allow them near her nest once they earn her trust. Speaking of the Titanwing nightmare, this is Hookfang's nemesis, a stronger, larger, and more violent example of their species than most others. He repeatedly attacked Girl Hookfang until Hookfang and Snotlout used strategy to take advantage of their terrain and ultimately defeat him. Sven's nightmare stands out for reportedly blasting poison instead of fire and serves alongside the auxiliary riders during major battles. Cage Cruncher, on the other hand, was a captive nightmare who demonstrated incredible strength by chewing through steel cages while being held by dragon hunters. Similarly, Fire Scrapes and his pack were former victims of dragon hunters as well, who managed to find peace on Forest Island under Fishleg's guidance. Whipslash was forced into cage fighting until Hiccup freed him from his painful hook, and Mercy was also rescued, but this time by Valka during the Dragon War. She later went on to become one of Valka's most loyal companions. And lastly, we were introduced to about a dozen chaotic baby nightmares like Brisket, Scrag, and Potroast, who were all cared for by Snotlout. Now we come to the monstrous legend that started it all, the Red Death. With 6 eyes, coral-like spines, and a mouth big enough to swallow ships whole, this dragon ruled over an entire army from its volcanic lair. The Red Death is a towering Titan winged dragon who was the secret force behind centuries of dragon raids. It can fire a massive stream of explosive flames and is strong enough to break through a mountain just to stretch its wings. Like the Bewilderbeast, the Red Death can also summon and control dragons using eerie sounds and a paralyzing stare. However, unlike that nurturing alpha, this queen rules like a tyrant. Luckily, Hiccup and Toothless discovered her one weakness. While the outside of the Red Death's body is effectively invulnerable, a blast of fire to her methane-filled core can take it down easily, ending her reign and freeing dragonkind from her control. On to the Singe-tail, a dragon with eyes that move independently of each other to give it a 360-degree view of its surrounding. This means that you'll never be able to sneak up on this species, and even if you do, you'll have to deal with brutal flames that it launches from its mouth or from the gills on the underside of its belly. These dragons signal each other with fire, fly at high speeds, and shrug off blows that would take down lesser dragons. But don't be fooled by their aggression. If left alone, they tend to enjoy lazing around in the sun or dozing off in a bed of wildflowers. Scorch was the first one discovered by Spitelout on Storehouse Island. This aggressive orange Singe-tail laid claim to the territory, and whenever approached, it would use its flames to signal for backup to remove the intruders. Then there's Krogan Singe-tail, a massive, likely Titan Wing female. She became Krogan's mount through brute force and sheer will, which created a begrudging partnership. Ultimately, when she was freed by the Titan Wing Dramillion, she didn't hesitate to lead a Singe-tail uprising against her captors. We also have Deathlout. Covered in scars and driven by bottomless hunger, Deathlout is the most aggressive of his kind. He was first seen battling Toothless, where he signaled his pack mid-fight and nearly overwhelmed the Dragon Riders with sheer numbers. We also have Flamelout, described by Spitelout as a mad genius who constantly outsmarted his Viking observer by stealing tools, food, and even weapons. Stoic, on the other hand, is the laziest Singe-tail alive, named after the Viking chief that he reminded Spitelout of. Stoic sleeps through just about anything unless he is hungry or in danger. And lastly, we have Heatlout and Hotlout, who are both golden-hued Singe-tails from Storehouse Island that we unfortunately don't get much time with. Our next species is the small Shadowwing. On their own, they are swift, nimble, and capable of dive-bombing or clinging to cave walls like predators lying in wait. But these dragons rarely hunt alone. Their true strength lies in numbers, which allows them to launch calculated ambushes. One member, Bated Breath, feigns injury to lure in its prey. Once close enough, the rest of the pack will unleash a barrage of lava-like fireballs, essentially like living mortars. These shots are powerful enough to corrode through trees and melt stone. But of course, small shadow wings don't hunt alone. They form symbiotic bonds with large shadow wings, which act like massive aircraft carriers that can deploy them mid-air in a fearsome bomber formation. Even smaller than the small shadow wings, though, are the Terrible Terrors. These pint-sized dragons pack more mischief, firepower, and personality than dragons 10 times their size. While one terror might just sing on a rooftop or nip at your boots, a full pack can lift Vikings off their feet, swarm enemies, or even start an impromptu chorus at midnight. They are bold, sneaky, social, and surprisingly intelligent, often being trained for mail delivery, retrieval, or coordinated pranks. One iconic terror is Sharpshot, who Hiccup trained to be a sniper. He can fly out, attack his target, and return to Hiccup's arm in a blink of an eye. He is precise, fast, and smart enough to understand verbal and visual commands, making him the perfect aerial sidekick. His rival is Sneaky, Astrid's terror, who is so quiet that he can even sit on a Viking's helmet without them noticing him. Then there's Iggy, Fishlegs' clever terror, trained to fetch specific objects by matching them to a picture. That same cleverness turns to chaos with Pain, who is Snotlout's terror, who bit his trainer's leg and refused to let go. It took Gobber a whole afternoon to pry him off. Of course, Roughnut and Toughnut couldn't resist matching terrors, being called Butt and Head. Their main trick involves headbutting each other over and over again. Gothy's terrors are something entirely else though. These green-scaled companions never leave her side and can lift her in a basket across Burke. We also have Leopold, a purple terror with pirate flair, who was once loyal to Harold Forkbeard. And this species also has two subtypes. In the icy depths of the hidden world, you can find ice terrors, a cold climate cousin with icicle-like horns and resistance to freezing temperatures. They are quick, but a bit too trusting, which unfortunately makes them very vulnerable to hunters. And finally, the common or garden dragon. These are technically a cousin species, but spiritually they are the same as terrors. They might be small and lazy, but they're easy to train and have become a staple to Viking homes. Up next is the Treadtail, a dragon so poisonous that it's allergic to itself. This brightly colored stoker dragon secretes a toxin through its skin when threatened, but unfortunately, that same toxin makes it itch like crazy. To cope, Threadtails are often seen rolling around in dragonberry bushes or basking in coarse sand and cool wind to soothe their irritation. Despite the allergy, Threadtails are powerful creatures. They can breathe strong yellow flames, misty green fire, or even a strange purple vapor. Their frilled head and bumpy skin serve as visual warnings, similar to poison dart frogs, but bigger and fire-breathing. Threadtails were part of Valka's dragon army and played a role in the war, flying into battle and carrying supplies across long distances. They are territorial, loyal, tough, resilient, and memorable dragons. Our next stoker is the Typhoomerang, a dragon capable of making powerful flame tornadoes. These towering beasts fold in their massive wings and spin mid-air, igniting their entire bodies into flaming corkscrews that spiral downwards and scorch everything in their path. Their iconic fiery vortex isn't just for show though. It is strong enough to trap prey, torch forests, or even leave behind fertile scorch marks that oddly promote plant growth. Torch is the best known Typhoomerang, who was once mistaken for a flaming squirrel before becoming an honorary member of the Dragon Riders. As an adult, he returned even stronger, and now both helps stop wildfires and protects his friends. But his mother is a terrifying whirlwind who scorched her way through Burke's forest searching for her missing baby. She didn't calm down until Torch was safely back in her wings, but she isn't the only member of his family. There's also Torch's sister, who is a no-nonsense blue Typhoomerang. She is older, more serious, and quick to take charge, while his younger brother is a yellow troublemaker who looks up to Torch and mimics his every move. And then there's the Trap-Foomerang, a dragon who is very much not Astrid, as Snotlout discovered the hard way, and who nearly turned a rescue mission into a scorching mess. The Firing Fury is a medium-sized Stoker-class dragon, known for its molten personality and literal glow-up. First seen in Dragons Rescue Riders, these dragons sport vivid red, orange, or yellow scales, curled ram-like horns, and the ability to ignite their body. Fire Furies can shoot searing fireballs, weld metal with precision blue flames, and use their glowing bodies as heat sources or weapons. Though social and loyal, they are sensitive to cold and water, making extreme weather a serious drawback. However, when these dragons are together, they can light up the sky like living fireworks shows. Aggro is the smallest but fiercest of the bunch, a fiery ball of sass who heats up when annoyed. She is precise, quick-witted, and brave, with a knack for smokescreens and blue flame welding. Though she does struggle with feeling like the odd dragon out, she proves herself as a vital part of the Rescue Riders. Laberne, a red-hot fire starter, is energetic and chaotic. She lives for fun and brings a contagious spark wherever she goes. She bonded instantly with fellow Fire Furies and loves explosive group antics. And finally, Cinda is Laberne's partner in chaos. She is playful and sweet, but dangerously impulsive. Together with Laberne, she treats Aggro like a younger sister, inviting her into their misadventures and lighting up the sky in glowing synchronized flights. Up next is the Bubblecorn, a unicorn-like dragon about the size of a cat and shaped like a baby pony. This small but spiked dragon uses its hollow horns to unleash explosive bubbles and fire blasts. Bubble horns are deceptively durable for their size, with retractable body spikes, echoing screeches that summon reinforcements, and an incredibly stubborn temperament. Though adorable at first glance, they're fierce when provoked and not quick to forgive. For example, Nibbles, a bubblehorn who is known for holding grudges. Initially adopted by June after a rescue mission, he quickly went from cute baby unicorn to absolute menace. Whether biting Eugene, screeching for backup, or spitefully leaving people in traps, Nibbles does what he wants when he wants. He's now under Linda's care, where he tolerates affection on his terms. However, his loyalty and instincts kick in when it matters most. Then we have the Flamethrower, a medium-sized stoker dragon known for flying in formation and fighting like a well-oiled machine. First introduced in Dragons the Nine Realms, these volcanic hunters are instantly recognizable by their brown-spotted hides, red dorsal fins, and twin fangs jutting from their lower jaws. Despite their sleek size, flamethrowers are no pushovers. They unleash blistering orange fire from both their mouths and neck gills, and they coordinate in highly strategic precision strikes to isolate and overwhelm their prey. They have surprising agility and stamina to tank hits even from a nightlight. And of course, these pack-hunting menaces thrive in molten environments. While they're aggressive towards outsiders, flamethrowers are surprisingly loyal within their own ranks, especially when it comes to their bond with a larger alpha dragon like the Sky Torture. This relationship makes them both terrifying and complex, as they will follow their leader without hesitation into any battle, including against the Dragon Riders. However, without their alpha or their pack, individual flamethrowers are very easy to outwit, especially if you have something shiny to distract them with. Up next is the Magma Breather, a dragon that looks like a pig, acts like a stubborn old cat, and spits lava hot enough to melt silver. This chubby, medium-sized stoker dragon produces and hurls lava, from gentle puddles to full-on rivers, which it uses to relax in, defend itself, or chase down anyone who interrupts its naps. Despite its short wings and round body, it can still hover in the air, or even sprint if provoked, and it's surprisingly heat resistant thanks to its magma-proof skin. The most well-known of this species is the Magma Breather who tormented D'Angelo, not once, but twice. Then we have the Sky Torcher, the blazing juggernaut from the Fire Realm, and one of the most powerful dragons in the Nine Realms. This massive titan has pale white scales, massive horns, and 4 devastating streams of fire that can torch rock to ash. Despite its size, the Sky Torcher moves with surprising speed and commands its flamethrower minions to scout ahead and soften up enemy territories before making its grand entrance. With heat-proof skin and a knack for underground ambushes, it is both an apex predator and a strategic commander. The most famous Sky Torcher is the one who served the Alpha Flamethrower, a lone juggernaut who bulldozed into the Crystal Realm, nearly torched the Dragon Club, and was later captured and manipulated by Buzzsaw. But it's not all fire and fury. This Sky Torcher showed fierce loyalty to its pack, even risking its life to save them, and later allied with Thunder to face off against Jormungandr. And our last stoker is the Snowtail, a frosty oddball native to the Ice Realm. This dragon looks like it stepped out of a blizzard, with dark purple scales, translucent face frills, and icy blue eyes. But while the Snowtail may look chill, when threatened it can breathe powerful ice blasts that can devastate its enemies. This dragon is surprisingly agile as well. It will climb, run, and fly at speeds that will rival a Gembreaker or a pack of Speed Stingers, at least for a while. There are no named Snowtails that have taken the spotlight, but we have seen plenty of them across the Nine Realms. They're often targeted by Buzzsaw's traps, as they tend to fall for mimicked dragon calls as a result of being curious and trusting by nature. Thankfully, they're also surprisingly trainable and recover quickly from danger, as seen when D'Angelo cared for one in his dragon hospital. Up next, we have the Strike-class dragons, known for their speed, strength, and sharp intelligence. With their powerful jaws and unique abilities, they excel in fast, precise attacks and navigating through all kinds of environments. Up first in this class, we have the terrifying Death Gripper, Grimmel's venomous pride and joy. These medium-sized dragons are pure nightmare fuel, armed with scorpion-like stingers, acid breath, and raptor claws that make them the perfect dragon hunting machines. They live and hunt in packs, using stealth and brute force to overwhelm their prey, and can even paralyze or control other creatures with their venom. But their acid isn't just corrosive, it burns, ignites, and melts through nearly anything in its path. These dragons are extremely powerful, however, they are nearly impossible to train unless you've hatched one yourself or saved their lives. The most infamous Death Stinger were the 6 that served Grimmel the Grizzly. Controlled through venom injection collars, they burned down homes, pursued Valka midair, and dragged Toothless and the Night Fury into a trap. Despite their forced loyalty, these dragons showed high intelligence, fighting in coordinated attacks, and even resisting the Alpha's control. Next, we have the mysterious Light Fury. This shimmering pearl-white dragon is a master of stealth and elegance. With her mirror-like scales, she can vanish into the sky, blending seamlessly with clouds and even daylight. Her ability to turn invisible allows her to stay one step ahead of danger. At first, she is a wild, curious creature who might trust dragons, but has zero patience for humanity. For example, she didn't hesitate to blast Hiccup when he got too close, but when she meets Toothless, something changes, and the dragons begin to form a romance. Of course, she's not just a pretty face. From helping Toothless discover the hidden world to risking her own life to save Hiccup, this dragon is fast, fierce, and loyal when it counts. Following her, of course, we have the legendary Night Fury Toothless. This jet black dragon is the fastest, most agile, and loyal creature in the skies of Berk. With his sleek, stealthy body and vibrant green eyes, Toothless is the perfect mix of adorable and fearsome. At first, he's thought to be a mysterious terror in the night, until Hiccup shoots him down, starting one of the most iconic friendships in animation history. But despite how cute he is, Toothless is an absolute powerhouse. His plasma blasts are basically explosions wrapped in lightning, and he's fast enough to break the sound barrier. But that's not all. This guy has retractable teeth and a playful sense of humor. But you can't let that cute side fool you, as he can become an absolute beast when he enters his alpha mode, gaining nearly unstoppable power along with his new glowing blue coloring. Up next, we have the legacy of Toothless and the Night Fury, the Nightlights. These are fast, clever, and electrically charged. Nightlights blend the stealth of the Night Fury with the raw speed of the Light Fury. Though first seen in How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, their story has expanded in Dragons: The Nine Realms, where we meet an entire family of Nightlights guarding the balance of the Hidden World. Dart is the only female of the original trio and definitely the smartest of the bunch. She's outgoing, fearless, and endlessly curious about humans, and as such she'll often lead her brothers into daring trips into New Berk. Her brother Pouncer, on the other hand, is more of a troublemaker. His blasts can create a flash bright enough to blind enemies, buying time for him and his siblings to make their escape. And finally, Rough Runner, the sleepy sibling who often ends up in the chaos thanks to his brother and sister. Rough Runner just wants a good nap, but even so, he is fiercely loyal. He follows his siblings into every mess they dive into, and is quick to defend them when it counts the most. Thunder, the star of the Nine Realms, is their long-lost brother. Thunder carries the legacy of Toothless like no other. He is brave, clever, and deeply bonded to his human rider Tom. Over time, Thunder matures from a curious outsider to the crowned king of the Nine Realms, inheriting this mantle from his powerful grandfather. Shadow is the curious little brother who accidentally kicks off a reunion. He's the first of the younger siblings to meet the riders and became an instant fan favorite. There's also Goggles, the tech-obsessed Nightlight who loves getting in trouble, and of course Splattertail, a dragon that bounces between playful and hugs, bringing joy wherever they go. Finally, we have the Elders. The Mother Nightlight is a graceful and fiercely protective dragon that lovingly watches over her children. She quickly warms up to the riders after seeing their bond with Thunder. As for her mate, Father Nightlight, he is more of the strong, silent type, battle-scarred and cautious, but deeply loving towards his family. And finally, the Elder Nightlight, the clan leader, who is wise, guarded, and powerful, and who passes on the mantle of Alpha to Thunder before falling in battle, a final act that cements Thunder's place as the true king. Following the Nightlights, we have Skrill, a fearsome dragon who doesn't breathe fire, but instead channels bolts of lightning through its metallic spines. Found only during electrical storms, the Skrill can ride lightning at supersonic speeds, strike with devastating electrical blasts, and even store energy to unleash later. With its sleek, dark body and powerful agility, it's often compared to the Night Fury in both speed and danger. Skrills are rare, aggressive, and nearly impossible to train. They have a deep connection to storms, often hibernating in glaciers for decades before reawakening. However, they are far from unstoppable, as water can completely nullify their powers. A notable individual is the Frozen Skrill. After being freed and manipulated by Dagger, he later gains his freedom thanks to Hiccup and Toothless. Next is the elusive Songwing, a large and dangerous dragon that was first seen as a sketch on Hiccup's map in How to Train Your Dragon 2. This dragon never actually appears in the main franchise, but is said to be so deadly that it was once described simply as killing everybody. That ominous reputation and its resemblance to the Death Song suggests that it has a similar hypnotic song that they can use to lure in prey before attacking, though again this is unconfirmed for now. On an important note though, this Songwing is not the same as the Rescue Riders' brightly colored musical Songwings. Musical Songwings who use their song to communicate and deafen rather than destroy. Then we have the Snow Wraith, the icy terror of the Strike class, which is often called the Night Fury of Winter. With poor eyesight but deadly thermal vision, it tracks heat signatures and uses rapid frost blasts to freeze foes in their tracks. On top of that, its snow camouflage body, stealthy flight, and burrowing skills make it a master of ambushes. One of the most memorable snow wraiths is Gothi's Frostfright, who once attacked Gothi's entire expedition to Glacier Island, leaving her as the sole survivor. Years later, he clashes with the riders while guarding the tooth needed to unlock the Dragon Eye. Despite multiple dragons and blasts, Frostfright proved unstoppable until a shard of his tooth was embedded in Gothi's staff. Alongside Gothi's Frostfright were his two siblings, an older brother and a younger sister. While Frostfright was the most recognizable, his big brother was a bulkier snow wraith, while his little sister had quicker reflexes, which she used in close coordination with her brothers in battle. Up next in the Strike class is a dragon that fights like three rolled into one, the Triple Strike, and more specifically, Sleuther, the most iconic of its kind. Once the star of a brutal dragon fighting arena, Sleuther earned his reputation through sheer force. His three deadly tails could crush, whip, or sting anything foolish enough to step into the ring. Each tail carries a different venom. One numbs, another causes hallucinations, and the third makes your blood feel like it is burning on fire. This dragon is fast, agile, and terrifyingly strong. He could lift Toothless with a single tail, spin through the air in a defensive roll, and slice through chains like they were paper. Sleuther responds to clicks like coded signals, understands human speech, and even has a flair for the dramatic. After being spared by Toothless, Sleuther turned his loyalty towards the riders, but especially to Dagger. Our last dragon in the strike class is the Swiftwing, who proves speed isn't just flashy, it's heroic. The most iconic dragon of this species is Winger, the rescue rider's fastest and fiercest flyer. Winger is the team's frontliner, scout, and occasional poet. With his sleek build, opposable thumbs, and tail that acts like a rudder or a hammer, Winger is built for precision flying and versatile combat. His signature Power Blast delivers electrical shockwaves that can knock back wolves or even snuff out wildfires. As he matures, Winger even unlocks the rare Mega Blast, 3 shots combined into one devastating beam. Following the strike class is the tidal class dragons. These are large, ocean-dwelling creatures known for their calm nature and immense power. While most can't breathe fire, many can generate electricity or unleash powerful water-based attacks. The first in this class is the mighty Bewilderbeast. These titanic, tusked dragons are more than just alphas, they are the alpha. With a breath of freezing mist that turns oceans into icy fortresses and mind-controlling abilities that can bend entire dragon flocks to their will, Bewilderbeasts are as majestic as they are terrifying. But not all Bewilderbeasts are tyrants. Valka's Bewilderbeast was a peaceful giant, a snowy white guardian who built a sanctuary of ice and steam where dragons lived in harmony. He welcomed the wounded, protected the lost, and earned loyalty through compassion rather than fear. That is, until he was tragically killed in battle by Drago's Bewilderbeast, a darker, more brutal force twisted by conquest and control. This alpha was a tyrant who ruled through fear, only being stopped when Toothless shattered his horn and claimed the throne for himself. Then there's the Berserker Bewilderbeast, a reclusive female who dwelled beneath Berserker Island, guarding her unhatched eggs in silence. She prefers isolation over war, but when provoked, her icy wrath was lethal. Though Hiccup never saw her directly, she did save his life twice, earning her a place as one of the most mysterious and powerful dragons in the hidden world. Following the Bewilderbeast is the Fathom Fin, a true deep-sea behemoth and one of the largest dragons ever documented. First seen in the Serpent's Heir comic, the Fathom Fin is a Leviathan-class titan. This underwater giant comes with some truly unique abilities. It can release flammable gel from its mouth that doesn't dissolve in water, which is perfect for lighting up the deep or torching enemies from below. However, the coolest part of this dragon is probably that its expandable throat turns translucent when filled with water, acting like a living submarine window for its rider. Another species introduced in the comics is the Purple Death, this time from the Legend of Ragnarok. With its serpent-like body, dark purple scales, and beard-like tendrils, the Purple Death was mistaken by Vikings as the Midgar Serpent, a harbinger of the end of the world. This dragon is so massive that it causes seaquakes just by shifting in the ocean. It breathes enormous waves of explosive fire and can crush fleets beneath its own weight. It doesn't fly, but it doesn't need to. In the sea, it is deadly, fast, and nearly unstoppable. Our next dragons are the Skaldron. These aquatic dragons are armed with boiling hot water blasts and jaws strong enough to crush barrels like eggshells. Skaldrons hunt in pods using stealth and strategy to corner their prey, often other dragons. Their bodies act like living cauldrons, scooping up seawater, heating it internally, and then releasing it in pressurized jets that can melt a ship's deck in seconds. And surprisingly, they are the only known source of antidote venom for the deadly dragon flower. Mildew's Misery proved that firsthand. This giant nearly scalded Stoic and Gobber, but ended up delivering the life-saving venom via an unfortunate bite to Mildew's backside. Then there's Scaldy, who had his wing pinned under boulders until Roughnut charmed him with her fish-scented hair. Initially aggressive, Scaldy softened with care, letting Roughnut treat his injuries, and even accepting a handmade splint. Bonecrusher's Conquest, meanwhile, wasn't so friendly. This powerhouse Skaldron went toe-to-toe with Fishlegs, who, while hypnotized, thought he was a warrior god. Thunderfish was long believed to be a mythical sea beast until Dagger revealed the truth that it was just a very irritated Skaldron. And finally there's Bumble, the playful juvenile who accidentally turned Burke into his personal splash zone. Bumble's raw strength and boiling blasts were more than the village could handle. However, in the end, he was lovingly released back into the wild where he could swim free and not demolish buildings by accident. Following that is the electric phantom of the title class, the Sea Shocker. With a manta ray-like body and 2 heads, Sea Shockers travel in pods and unleash powerful bites that deliver high-voltage shocks, which can even paralyze large dragons, while their dorsal fins slice through ice with ease. These dragons use echolocation, bioluminescence, and teamwork to hunt deep beneath the waves, making them one of the most dangerous predators in the sea. Bolt and Float, a separated sea shocker, formed a strong bond with fish legs. They were trapped in a lagoon and hunted by Skaldrons, where they unleashed a massive electrical field to protect themselves, and which ultimately allowed them to manage to rejoin their pod. Valka's sea shockers rescued Toothless from icy waters and worked side by side with the Bewilderbeast, herding fish for the sanctuary as trusted allies of the Alpha. Soki and Weddy, named by the Thorstons, served as aquatic mounts during a seafaring mission where they demonstrated incredible speed and strength. Up next we have the Shellfire, a living battleship and one of the most fearsome giants of the title class. This Titan-wing behemoth blurs the line between dragon and war machine. The Shellfire is equipped with a massive armored shell and can launch plasma-charged boulders over a mile away with terrifying accuracy. As Hiccup once said, the Shellfire isn't just a ship or a dragon, it is both. Its most infamous appearance came through Viggo Grimborn's Project Shellfire, in which the dragon hunters captured this creature and bolted a dragon-proof warship onto its back. Riker weaponized the dragon to launch long-range assaults on places like Caldera Cay and Dragon's Edge, forcing it to attack while chained under his control. When Shipsbane, an aggressive submaripper, arrived, the Shellfire finally fought back. Their clash cracked the warship's chains, and the Shellfire, once set free, vanished into the deep. It remains one of the few dragons so massive and mysterious that even the riders couldn't fully understand or tame it. The Sliquifier is a sleek, supersonic swimmer from the title class. They're known as one of the fastest dragons in the ocean. Its dolphin-like body and powerful fin-shaped wings let it dart through the water at incredible speeds, and it turns that momentum into deadly force. As it accelerates, the Sliquifier stirs up a stream of potent acid, which it can then launch at enemies. The faster it moves, the stronger the blast, making it a devastatingly dangerous dragon. While it's rarely spotted, the Sliquifier has been seen in the Book of Dragons and is marked on Hiccup's map in How to Train Your Dragon 2, suggesting that it dwells in the waters around Berk. Up next is the monstrous Submaripper, also known by its original name from the comics, the Ripwrecker. This massive title class dragon has made an appearance in both TV and the comics. However, there has been a bit of confusion about it. The Submaripper from Dragon's Race to the Edge is not the same dragon as the acid-spitting Submaripper from the comics. The latter, now more commonly referred to as the Ripwrecker, was the first to use the name. However, the show and game producers were not aware that this existed, and so they presented it as an entirely different species using the same name. In the series, Shipsbane is our defining Submaripper. It is enormous, territorial, and capable of creating whirlpools strong enough to drag ships and dragons alike to the bottom of the sea. This dragon doesn't breathe fire and instead weaponizes suction, sonar-like tracking, and pure physical strength. Meanwhile, in the comics, the original Submaripper favored explosive acid attacks and would use his tail to drag ships under or fling Vikings across the deck. Then there is the mighty Thunderdrum, a sea dragon that roars with the force of a storm. The Thunderdrum unleashes concussive sonic blasts strong enough to send Vikings flying and even shatter rock. With bodies built for both air and sea, they're equally at home diving into the ocean as they are patrolling the skies. One of the most iconic Thunderdrums is Thornado, Stoic the Vast's companion. Initially aggressive, Thornado won Stoic's respect through sheer grit and strength, and the two formed an unbreakable bond. They would fight boars, patrol Berk, and eventually they helped each other raise Bing, Bam, and Boom. These three adolescent Thunderdrums found safety under Thornado's watch after being bullied by wild dragons. Stoic eventually went on to release Thornado so that he could take care of them, knowing that these dragons had now found a family. Then we have Whirlwing, who is a wounded Thunderdrum that Thornado once protected in secret. There's also Earsplitter, a Thunderdrum who took on a death song to rescue his son Lil Lullaby. After blasting through amber prisons and collapsing caves with a sonic roar, Earsplitter went on to reunite with his son in the skies. Our next dragon is the Windwalker, a dragon found only in the How to Train Your Dragon book series. Introduced as Hiccup's riding dragon, the Windwalker starts life as a fuzzy, awkward mix of feather, fur, and floppy limbs. But as it matures, it sheds its fluff, becoming sleek, fast, and agile, capable of nearly rivaling a silver phantom. According to the incomplete Book of Dragons, Windwalkers undergo a chrysalis transformation at age 17, eventually emerging as the ultra-rare Darkwing, a legendary dragon that can fly at incredible speeds and shoot lightning. Hiccup's Windwalker is one of the few to be seen in this final stage as they fought alongside him through the Dragon Rebellion. Also, they reportedly smell like hot chocolate, which is kind of a nice bonus. The fast fin is from Dragon's Rescue Riders. With webbed feet, an eel-like tail, and water-adapted wings, this dragon might not be much of a flyer, but it is unmatched in water. Fast fins fire powerful streams of water from their mouths. They are capable of knocking away heavy dragons like Burple or crafting ice barriers in freezing temperatures, and they are immune to slink-wing slime. The best known fast fin is Summer, the clever green-scaled rescue rider partnered with Layla. Summer can use sonar to navigate murky waters and is able to make quick strategies in battle. Despite her species being known to be fearless, she, however, is afraid of eels after a traumatic childhood incident. Then we have the Floodfang, a large dragon introduced in Dragons the Nine Realms that is yet another manta ray-like dragon. The Floodfang glides through both water and sky, though it does struggle more in the air. It lacks legs, but makes up for it with powerful aquatic propulsion, spiny dorsal fins, and enormous jaws lined with sharp teeth, along with 2 signature tusks jutting upright like spears. The most well-known Floodfang appears in Downpour, where 2 of them are lured with fireflies to extinguish a forest fire. Though territorial and food-driven, these dragons are intelligent, social, and patient. While hard to train, their water storage ability and stealthy ambush tactics make them uniquely powerful among aquatic dragons. Up next is the Mist Twister, a 2-headed tidal class dragon known for blending opposites. With one head breathing fire and the other creating frost, Mist Twisters can generate both steam screens and devastating combined blasts, making them ideal for both offense and defense. However, their true magic lies in the bond between their 2 minds. No better example exists than Wu and Wei, the spirited Mist Twister duo from Dragons the Nine Realms. With the cool-headed Wu on the left and the fiery and impulsive Wei on the right, the 2 might bicker like siblings but always pull together when danger strikes. Their shared body makes flying, climbing, and swimming second nature, and they've mastered cooperative moves like the Circle of Protection, which combines both ice and fire in a stunning steam explosion. And finally we have the Octofin, a gentle giant with the strength of a kraken and the heart of a saint. This massive dragon resembles a fusion of a crocodile and an octopus, with a crocodilian head, rows of dorsal fins, and 8 tentacle-like tails that can even lift ships. First appearing in Dragons the Nine Realms, the Octofin might look intimidating, but it's one of the kindest dragons you'll ever find. When Tom risked his life to free a captive Octofin, the dragon responded with gratitude, hiding the group in a cloud of ink and hauling them to safety despite repeated attacks from a shellfire. Its camouflage, intelligence, and ink make it a master of underwater stealth, and its strength and stamina put it on par with some of the most powerful sea dragons out there. Up next, we have dragons from the Tracker class. As the name suggests, these dragons are masters of tracking, with extraordinary senses of smell and taste that allow them to hunt down prey or people with incredible accuracy. First we have the Deadly Natters, and none of them is more famous than Stormfly. With vibrant blue scales and lethal tailspines, Stormfly is Astrid's pride and powerhouse. Deadly Natters are known for their precision and speed, but Stormfly takes it to another level. She can track targets by smell, shoot magnesium flames hot enough to melt rock, and strike from the air with amazing accuracy. But she is far from the only Natter making waves. Flystorm is a surprisingly friendly Natter who proved his loyalty by helping rescue Toothless and defending Burke. Then there's Kingstail, Spitelout's proud and impulsive partner, known for fighting Singetails and soaring into battle with flair. And another Natter, Scardian, leads a once wild pack who were scarred by dragon hunters, but overcame their trauma together. We also have Stormfly's offspring, who is a warrior just like their mother was. Following them, we have the Bork-weak Natters, trained by Astrid to fly in perfect formation, Steeltrap, who was a battered Natter from the fighting pits, and the Edge Natters, who cautiously warm up to Stormfly's leadership over time. Next, the unstoppable Rumblehorn, built like a battering ram but with the nose of a bloodhound. These tracker powerhouses are designed for one thing: to locate whatever or whoever they're after. With their axe-shaped noses, horned faces, and rock-solid builds, Rumblehorns like to keep their head down, their senses sharp, and their enemies running. They can charge like a rhino, fly with unexpected agility, and launch explosive fireballs that look like burning stones. But when they don't want to move, not even a monstrous nightmare can budge them. And leading the charge is none other than the Skull Crusher, a legendary Rumblehorn originally ridden by Stoic the Vast and later passed down to Eret. Skullcrusher isn't just a beast in battle, he is a protector and a strategist. He once tracked Hiccup by scent alone using nothing but a lost helmet. He's fought off Singetails, crushed through berserker ships, and rammed through sea stacks like they were made of butter. Not only that, but he also warned Burke of a coming tsunami, showing just how intuitive these dragons truly are. Following the rumble horn is the Snifflehunch, a tracker dragon with an unstoppable urge to smell everything. Their most famous representative is Pestbud, who is totally ignorant to the idea of personal space. His signature move is shoving his nose right under a dragon's wing or tail just to figure out if they are friend or foe, whether they like it or not. First spotted in Valka's mountain, Pestbud made quite the impression by greeting Toothless a little too intimately, but what Pestbud lacks in social awareness, he makes up for in loyalty. He stood by Valka's side, fought in the battle against Drago's army, and later joined Toothless in the Hidden World. With his bright orange scales and green stripes, Pestbud might look a little bit funny, but if you underestimate him, you'll be on the receiving end of a fire sneeze that can melt through just about anything. Up next are the Thunderclaws, tracker dragons with powerful legs, short tempers, and the best group formation in the business. These dragons are all about herding up, running in packs across the tundras and the plains, and sniffing out danger with their flickering snake-like tongues. We can start with Sailback, Valka's loyal steed, who gently carried Toothless back to Hiccup after the Sea Shockers rescued him. Then there's Rumpus, the pie-loving dragon who prefers to nap on a Viking's lap rather than do anything else, unless called to action, where her tracking nose and firepower can really shine. And finally, Bone Snarl, a living tank with a grudge. Once a prisoner in Drago's army, this Grey Thunderclaw famously blasted off Drago's prosthetic arm and refused to remove his armor even after gaining freedom. Now living in Burke, Bone Snarl leads a Scuttleclaw pack and helps Gobber keep the forge and the hatchlings in order. On to the Wind Gnasher, a sturdy, determined dragon who has a nose as sharp as its mace-tipped tail. These medium-sized dragons prefer to fight from the back, where their icy blast can blanket enemies in a fog. Built for endurance and stealth, they can pick up scents on the wind from across the archipelago, and some even guide whole flocks through snowy migrations. But our spotlight falls onto one particularly headstrong Wind Gnasher called Gust Nudger. This was among the first to bow to Toothless as the new alpha, and one of the many to follow him into the Hidden World where they lived in peace. That brings us to the relentless Razorwing. With spines as sharp as blades, Cutter is the rescue rider's expert tracker, scout, and professional prankster when he's not too busy avoiding responsibility. Like all Razorwings, Cutter has exceptional eyesight, explosive tail spikes, and a razor-edged tail that can slice through wood, scoop things up like a shovel, or even hang onto a tree when the weather gets rough. He has firepower hot enough to relight a fire fury, and precision and speed so fine that he can impale multiple fish mid-air. Up next we have the Gembreaker, a powerful dragon built like a living wrecking ball, thriving on smashing through crystals and stone with its massive horn and clubbed tail. With a beetle-like build, explosive loogie blasts, and sharp crystal armor, Gembreakers are as destructive as they are determined. Their exceptional sense of smell allows them to chase prey through land, air, or water, and though highly territorial and tough to train, once bonded they can become great companions, as was the case with Plowhorn and D'Angelo. The Gembreaker Guards are a rare subspecies that reside in the Gods Realm, tasked with protecting the sacred Dragonsight gem. They look nearly identical to standard Gembreakers, but they can be identified by their rounded, gem-shaped tail. And now the Glasscaster, a wingless, hyena-like dragon native to the Desert Realm. With jagged spines, sharp claws, and a glowing nasal horn, it has 4 powerful legs and uses echolocation to find its prey, roaring to cause glass pillars to vibrate and revealing their path forward. Its signature ability is a yellow and purple flame hot enough to turn sand into glass. Despite its bulky form, it's fast, agile, and stealthy, able to trap prey in glass walls and confuse enemies by weaponizing sound. However, sound is also their weakness, as their own sensitive hearing can lead to their sonic radar being overloaded and ultimately them getting stunned. The Snifflehide is a gentle herbivore with poor eyesight, but he has an incredibly powerful sense of smell and hearing. These nurturing creatures are known for building nests on high cliffs and displaying deep maternal instincts, even mistaking humans for their young if they carry a similar scent, like is the case with Eugene, who once got wrapped in leaves and was fed chewed-up plants after being mistaken for a hatchling. Despite their docile natures, Snifflehides can be fiercely protective. The mother Snifflehide fought off enemies, carried Eugene with ease, and even held her own against Jormungandr. However, these dragons very heavily rely on scent to identify those around them, making them vulnerable to scent-based deception. And our last tracker is the Vinetail, a small, wingless dragon that moves through the treetops like a monkey. With a prehensile extendable tail and opposable thumbs, this forest dweller climbs, swings, and even learned to barter. Vinetails rely on stealth, making use of their leafy spines to stay hidden safely. Individually light and nimble, they become a powerful force when acting in groups, able to overpower larger dragons, pull off daring heists, or even form living chains to rescue others. Their intelligence makes them crafty tricksters, often using bartering or manipulation to get what they want. And despite their playful nature, they are opportunistic and sometimes dangerous, luring dragons into traps or trading help only after getting something in return. And that brings us to our final class, the Unknown class. Some dragons are placed here because they've only appeared briefly or haven't been fully studied. These include a few unnamed species from How to Train Your Dragon 2, the Book of Dragons, Hiccup's Map, and even a mythical dragon. First we have the Lycanwing, a mythical dragon feared for its cursed bite, said to transform Vikings into monstrous, dragon-like creatures under the full moon. With wings the size of houses and teeth tougher than Gronkel iron, it's described as a bloodthirsty beast with no survivors, only victims. The legend gained traction in Race to the Edge when Toughnut believed he was bitten and would turn into one, prompting Gobber to tell the tale of a Viking named Kessler who vanished, only to be replaced by a crimson-eyed dragon who stole livestock. While Hiccup dismissed the myth, the Dragon Eye strangely includes a description of the Lycanwing, leaving its existence to be unknown. And our last dragon is the Stinger, a little-known dragon species that appeared exclusively in How to Train Your Dragon Live Spectacular. Described as juvenile short wings, these dragons resemble theropod dinosaurs with long hind legs, small wings, and no forearms. Their most distinctive feature is a pair of curved stingers on their tail, which are believed to be venomous. Stingers are fast, carnivorous, and capable of delivering powerful bites, even as hatchlings. Despite their aggressive tendencies, they can be trained through dominance and jaw scratches, and are even seen playing ball with Vikings by the end of the show. With spiny backs, colorful markings, and a scorpion-like tail, the Stinger remains one of the most mysterious dragons in the franchise. And to that end, it has not appeared in the films or the shows, and has never been officially classified into a dragon class. And just like that, we have covered every single dragon in the series, from powerful aerial threats to volcanic giants, frozen protectors, and deep-sea leviathans. There is an unbelievable variety of dragons in the series that fit any personality, ability, or situation you can think of. But which is your favorite? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below, or if you have a topic you'd like us to dive into, you can leave a suggestion there as well. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. With that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.